The first time Lily Anderson saw Ethan West, the whole world seemed to stop for a second. Not because she liked him. In fact, she hated boys like him. The kind of boys who wore expensive suits to school, who arrived in shiny black cars driven by private chauffeurs, and who thought every hallway was their runway. He was the leader of the F4, the Four Flowers, the richest, most handsome, and most untouchable boys at Westbridge International Academy. The academy wasn't just any school. It was a place where the children of billionaires, royalty, and world-famous celebrities studied together. Built in the heart of Dubai, it was a grand marble building with gold-trimmed windows, crystal chandeliers, and a courtyard filled with imported flowers from Japan. For Lily, who had just moved from a quiet town in the Philippines because her father got a teaching job in Dubai, it was like stepping into another planet. Her first morning was a shock. Girls in designer dresses laughed while scrolling on their latest phones. Boys wore watches that probably cost more than her father's yearly salary. And in the center of it all stood the F4. Ethan West from America, tall with golden hair and piercing blue eyes. Arjun from India, charming and witty. Kenji Tanaka from Japan, quiet but mysterious. And Alexei Volkov from Russia, with his sharp jawline and cold aristocratic stare. They were beautiful, perfect, and terrifying. Lily didn't care about them, or so she told herself. She was here to study, not to become part of their drama. But fate had a cruel sense of humor. It started in the cafeteria. Lily carried her tray of food, rice, chicken, and vegetables, and searched for a quiet table. The cafeteria was filled with laughter and chatter in different accents, English, Arabic, Hindi, Japanese, and Tagalog blending together. She found a seat in the corner, but just as she sat down, someone bumped into her, hard. Her food spilled across the table and onto her uniform. Gasps filled the air. "Oh my gosh, watch where you're going," a blonde girl with perfect curls exclaimed. She was Samantha Reed, daughter of a billionaire hotel owner from the USA, and known to be Ethan West's on and off girlfriend. She glared at Lily like she was something she stepped on. "I'm sorry," Lily said, grabbing napkins quickly. "You should be," Samantha sneered, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Do you even belong here? That uniform looks fake." Her cheeks burned. She wanted to disappear, but she forced herself to stand tall. "I belong here just as much as you do." The cafeteria went silent. Then a slow clap echoed from the center table, the F4 table. Ethan West was clapping, his smirk playing at the corners of his lips. His friends watched in interest. "Well, well," Ethan said, standing up and walking toward her. "The new girl has a mouth." Lily didn't like the way his deep voice dripped with arrogance. "And the rich boy has too much time to waste," she shot back. The cafeteria gasped again. Nobody talked to Ethan like that. Nobody. For a moment, his smile widened, but then his eyes narrowed slightly. "What's your name?" "Lily Anderson." "Well, Lily Anderson," he said, leaning closer, "you just made the biggest mistake of your life." He turned and walked back to his table, the F4 following him like kings returning to their thrones. The rest of lunch was filled with whispers and curious glances. That evening, as Lily walked home from school, she noticed a black car parked near the gate. It wasn't unusual. A lot of students had drivers. But this one followed her slowly. Her heart raced, but when she turned around, it sped off. The next morning, she found something strange in her locker, a single white flower with a small note. "You've caught the eye of the F4. Prepare yourself." Lily froze, the paper trembling in her hands. She had heard about this before. When the F4 gave someone a flower, it wasn't a gift. It was a warning. It meant they had decided to make that person's life miserable until they left the school. By lunchtime, the bullying began. Her desk was covered in sticky notes, calling her poor girl and scholar trash. Her shoes were missing from the changing room after gym. Someone even posted an edited photo of her on the school's social media page, making fun of her clothes. She told herself she didn't care. She had faced harder things back in the Philippines when her father lost his job and they had to live with relatives for months. But the truth was, the cruelty here felt different. It was elegant, organized, and dangerous, like a game she didn't know the rules to. 3 days later, things took a surprising turn. She was in the library, trying to avoid everyone, when Kenji Tanaka, the quietest member of the F4, walked up to her table. "You shouldn't fight Ethan," he said softly in a Japanese accent. "I'm not fighting him," Lily replied. "I'm just not scared of him." Kenji's dark eyes studied her for a moment. "That's the same thing." Then he placed a book on the table, a thick, leather-bound novel, and walked away without another word. Inside the book was another flower, but this time it was red. That night, Lily couldn't stop thinking about it. What did the red flower mean? Was Kenji trying to warn her or protect her? She didn't have an answer yet, but she knew one thing. Her life at Westbridge International Academy had just become a battlefield, and she was not planning to lose. By the end of the first week, Lily had become the most talked about student in the Westbridge International Academy. Not because she was smart or talented, but because she had somehow made herself the target of the F4, something that usually ended with the victim transferring to another school within a month. The bullying was relentless. In the mornings, she found her textbooks missing from her locker. At lunch, whispers followed her like shadows. In the evenings, someone posted photos of her old Facebook pictures from the Philippines, mocking the small wooden house she used to live in. But Lily wasn't someone who broke easily. Her father had always told her, hard times are like storms, Anak. They either make you hide or they make you dance in the rain. She decided she would dance, even if the rain here felt like knives. Still, the red flower from Kenji bothered her. Why would he give it to her? Was he mocking her too? Or was there some meaning behind it? On Monday morning, she found out. She was walking toward her first class when she noticed Kenji leaning against the wall near the music room. His uniform was perfect as always, blazer sharp, tie straight, but his eyes had a quiet sadness in them. "You didn't read the book," he said without looking at her. "How do you know?" she asked. "Because if you did, you wouldn't still be asking what the red flower means." He handed her another slip of paper, this one with neat handwriting in Japanese and English. A red flower means danger, but also passion. It means someone is watching you closely. Lily frowned. "And who's watching me?" Kenji hesitated for a second, then said, "Ethan." The name was like a spark in her chest, part fear, part anger. Why? He doesn't even know me. Kenji's lips curved slightly, not into a smile exactly, but something close. That's what makes him curious. He walked away. The rest of the day, Lily felt eyes on her. In the cafeteria, in the library, even in the courtyard where the school's famous imported Japanese cherry blossoms swayed gently in the warm Dubai breeze. Every time she looked, Ethan West was somewhere in sight, leaning against a pillar, talking to Arjun and Alexei, but always, somehow, watching her. That afternoon, fate threw them together. Their history teacher, Mrs. Klein, announced a group project on world economic history. The class groaned, But the groan turned into excited chatter when she said, "I've already assigned your partners." When she read, "Lily Anderson and Ethan West," the room went silent for a second, then exploded into whispers. Lily's stomach dropped. She glanced at Ethan, expecting him to protest, but he just smirked and said, "Guess we're working together, Anderson." After class, she tried to escape quickly, but he caught up with her in the hallway. "Let's meet at my place," he said casually, as if inviting her to the grocery store. "No thanks," she said without stopping. "You don't get to say no. It's a project." His voice was calm, but there was steel in it. Lily turned sharply to face him. "You've been making my life miserable for a week. Why would I want to come to your house?" For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Annoyance? Amusement? She couldn't tell. "Because, Lily," he said quietly, "you might learn something." The next day, after much inner debate, she went. His house, no, mansion, was a glass and steel palace overlooking the Dubai Marina. The driveway alone could fit 10 cars, and the interior looked like something from a luxury design magazine. Marble floors, modern art, a massive staircase. It was a world far from her small apartment. Ethan led her to a private study lined with bookshelves. He said, "We can work here." He said, "We can work here," dropping into a leather chair. They worked in awkward silence for half an hour. Then, without looking up, Ethan asked, "Why aren't you scared of me?" Lily looked at him, surprised. "Should I be?" "Everyone else is," he said simply. "Maybe that's their problem," she replied. For the first time, he smiled. A real one, not his usual arrogant smirk. "You're different, Anderson." Before she could respond, the door opened and a tall, elegant woman entered. She had blonde hair pulled into a perfect bun and wore a diamond necklace that sparkled even in the soft light. "Ethan, darling," she said in a British accent, "who's your little friend?" "This is Lily," he said. "We're working on a project." The woman's eyes flicked over Lily's simple clothes and worn school bag. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "How lovely," she said, then turned to Ethan. "Your father called from New York. He wants to speak to you." Ethan's expression changed instantly. The warmth in his eyes vanished, replaced by a cold mask. "Tell him I'm busy," he said flatly. Lily watched as his mother's lips tightened. "Ethan?" "I said I'm busy." His voice was sharp, and the tension in the room grew thick. After she left, Lily asked, "You don't get along with your father?" Ethan looked at her for a long moment, then said, "Stay out of it." The rest of the study session was quiet, but Lily couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Ethan West than the arrogant leader of the F4. When she left the mansion that evening, she passed by the large garden. Among the white roses, she saw a single red flower, the same kind Kenji had given her. And for the first time, she wondered if she was getting pulled into something far deeper and far more dangerous than just high school drama. The next few days were strange. The bullying didn't stop completely, but it changed. Instead of constant cruelty, there were moments when people hesitated before throwing insults. Instead of finding her shoes missing, Lily found them neatly placed by her locker. And the most surprising thing, Ethan didn't bother her in public. He still watched her, still seemed to study her every move, but he didn't order the F4 to torment her. The other members of F4 noticed. It started during lunch on Wednesday. Lily sat alone at a table by the window, pretending to focus on her history notes. The F4's usual table was just across the room, and she could hear bits of their conversation over the noise of the cafeteria. "She's just a scholarship girl," Alexei Volkov said in his cold Russian tone. "Why are you wasting time?" Because she's not like the others, Ethan replied simply. Arjun Kapoor leaned forward, his voice dripping with curiosity. Not like the others, how? Every girl in this school either wants to be with you or wants to be you. Ethan's smirk was faint. She doesn't want either. Kenji Tanaka, quiet as always, simply looked down at his plate. Alexei shook his head. This is dangerous. You're forgetting what happened before. The words sent a shiver down Lily's spine. What happened before? That afternoon, as students left for the day, Kenji appeared beside her again, almost like a shadow. You're going to get hurt if you stay close to Ethan. I'm not close to him, she replied. You will be. He doesn't let go of things he finds interesting. Kenji's dark eyes locked on hers. Just remember, he's not as untouchable as he pretends to be. None of us are. Before Lily could ask what he meant, he walked away. That night, she couldn't stop thinking about the conversation at lunch and Kenji's warning. Her curiosity was stronger than her fear now. She wanted to know what the F4 was hiding. The chance came sooner than she expected. 2 days later, Ethan asked her to meet him at the Dubai Mall, the largest mall in the world, with marble floors, fountains, and stores that looked like they belonged in Paris or Milan. She didn't want to go, but he insisted it was to work on their project. When she arrived, she spotted Ethan near the aquarium wall, leaning against the glass with his hands in his pockets. He was wearing a white shirt and dark jeans, looking far more casual than usual, but somehow still like he belonged on a magazine cover. We're not here to shop, he said. Come on. He led her through the mall, out to the waterfront, where luxury yachts floated in the Marina. The evening air was warm, carrying the scents of the sea. They walked in silence until they reached a small cafe tucked between 2 designer boutiques. Inside, the lights were soft and the place was almost empty. Ethan ordered coffee for himself and tea for her without asking. Why did you bring me here? Lily asked. He leaned back in his chair, studying her. Because you want to know who I really am. Her pulse quickened. And you're just going to tell me? Not everything, he said with a faint smile, but enough. He told her about New York, where he was born, about his father, a ruthless businessman who built a billion-dollar empire but treated his family like employees, about how his mother lived in Dubai most of the year away from his father, and how he'd been sent to Westbridge to keep him out of the public scandals surrounding his parents' marriage. But the part that caught her attention most was when he mentioned before. There was another girl, he said quietly, his eyes distant. Her name was Emily. She was different, too. She didn't care about money or status, but she got too close. What happened? She left. His voice hardened. Or maybe I made her leave. Depends who you asked. There was something in his tone, regret mixed with anger, that made my chest ache a little. I wanted to ask more, but his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and frowned. We need to go, he said suddenly, standing up. Outside, she saw why. Across the street, Alexei stood leaning against a sleek black car, his icy blue eyes locked on Ethan. Beside him was Arjun, looking more curious than concerned. As they approached, Alexei's gaze shifted to Lily. Careful, Anderson. The closer you get, the harder the fall. Ethan stepped between them. Leave her out of this. Too late, Alexei said, then got into the car and drove off. That night, Lily realized something important. The F4 wasn't as united as they appeared. There were cracks in the glass, and she had somehow become the hammer. She didn't know it yet, but those cracks were about to shatter. And when they did, the truth about each of the boys would spill out, one by one.
By the following week, Lily could feel the shift in the air at Westbridge International Academy. The whispers hadn't stopped, but they had changed. People still stared, but now the looks carried more curiosity than mockery. Some girls were clearly jealous. They'd see her walking past Ethan in the hallway and mutter under their breath. Others watched with fascination, as if waiting for a scandal to erupt. The F4 had always been untouchable, but somehow, Lily, a scholarship girl from a small town, had stepped inside their circle, and it was making the other boys restless. The first real sign came from Kenji Tanaka. It was Thursday afternoon, and Lily had just finished gym class when she found a folded paper slipped into her bag. Inside, in Kenji's neat handwriting, was a single sentence. "Meet me after school at the music room. Come alone." She almost didn't go. Part of her wondered if it was a trap, but curiosity won. When she pushed open the music room door, she found Kenji seated at the grand piano, his fingers moving over the keys and a slow, haunting melody. He looked up when she entered. "Close the door." She did. "I need to tell you something before it's too late," he said, his voice low. "You think this is just about school politics. It's not. Ethan, he's dangerous in ways you don't understand." Lily crossed her arms. "If you're trying to scare me, I'm trying to warn you." His tone sharpened, unusual for the normally calm Kenji. "When I was in Tokyo, there was a girl. She challenged Ethan once. She thought she could handle him, thought she could change him. Do you know where she is now? Gone. No one's heard from her in years." Lily frowned. "You're telling me Ethan made her disappear?" Kenji hesitated. "I'm saying people who get too close to him tend to lose themselves." The air between them felt heavy, almost suffocating. Before she could respond, the door swung open, and Ethan stood there. His eyes flicked from her to Kenji. "What's going on here?" "Nothing," Kenji said calmly, but the way he closed the piano lid felt final. His jaw tightened. "Lily, I'll walk you out." They walked in silence until they reached the courtyard. Ethan stopped under the shade of the cherry blossom trees. "Stay away from Kenji." "Why? Because he tells me things you don't want me to hear?" His blue eyes locked on hers. "Because he doesn't know the whole story, and neither do you." She wanted to push, to demand the truth, but the way his voice cracked ever so slightly stopped her. There was something in his expression, a flicker of pain that made her hesitate. Over the next few days, she noticed the tension between the F4 growing. Arjun was still friendly, making light jokes, but even he avoided certain topics. Alexei was openly cold toward her, and Kenji kept his distance after that meeting in the music room. Then came the invitation. It arrived in a gold envelope slipped under her apartment door. Inside was a thick card engraved with swirling letters. "The West Family Annual Charity Gala. Dubai Opera House, Saturday, 8 p.m. Formal attire required." At the bottom, in Ethan's handwriting, "Be there." Her first instinct was to refuse. She didn't belong at something like that, a night of diamonds, champagne, and billionaires. But her father encouraged her. He said, "Sometimes you have to step into places you think you don't belong, just to prove you can." So on Saturday night, she stood in front of the Dubai Opera House, wearing the only formal dress she owned, a simple navy blue gown she had bought on sale. The grand building shimmered under the lights, and luxury cars pulled up one after another. Inside, the gala was breathtaking. Crystal chandeliers, a live orchestra, tables overflowing with exotic flowers from Indonesia, and waiters carrying trays of golden champagne glasses. She felt completely out of place until she saw Ethan. He was across the room in a black tuxedo, looking like he'd stepped straight out of a movie. For a moment, their eyes met, and the noise of the room seemed to fade. He walked over, offering his hand. "You clean up well, Anderson." "You too," she said softly, trying not to let her voice shake. He led her to a quieter corner of the hall, away from the crowd. "I wanted you here because there are people you should meet." But before he could explain, Alexei appeared, his face like carved ice. "She shouldn't be here." "She's my guest," Ethan said firmly. Alexei's gaze turned to Lily. "You think this is a fairy tale? That you're the poor girl who tames the rich prince? It's not. This world eats people like you alive." "That's enough," Ethan said, stepping forward. Alexei didn't flinch. "Tell her the truth about Emily. Or should I?" The name sent a chill through Lily. But before she could ask, the orchestra music swelled, and a woman's voice announced the start of the evening program. Ethan turned to her. "Not tonight." And just like that, he walked away, leaving her with more questions than answers. What truth was Alexei talking about? And why did Ethan look almost afraid? She didn't know it yet, but the answer would come soon. And when it did, it would change everything.
The gala ended long after midnight, but Lily barely remembered the speeches or the music. She left with one name echoing in her mind: Emily. The next morning, she woke to a knock on her apartment door. When she opened it, she found Kenji standing there, holding a small paper bag. Inside was a single red flower. "She's the reason," Kenji said quietly. Lily's chest tightened. A reason for what? For everything. The bullying, the warnings, Ethan's walls. Kenji's voice was calm, but his eyes were troubled. "Emily Harper was a scholarship student 3 years ago. Like you, she stood up to Ethan the way you did. At first, it was the same games, the teasing, the attention. But then, he hesitated. She fell in love with him, and he with her." Lily's heart skipped. Kenji continued. "But Ethan's father found out. Emily's family wasn't wealthy, didn't have influence. His father saw her as a threat to the family's image. One day, she just disappeared. Ethan never told anyone what happened, but he changed after that." Lily's mind was racing. "Do you think she's—" "I don't know," Kenji cut in. "But if you stay close to him, you might find out. Just be ready for the cost." Later that afternoon, Lily found herself walking toward the Marina again, where Ethan often went to escape the academy's noise. He was sitting on a bench facing the water, his jacket off, sleeves rolled up, staring at the waves. "You could have told me," she said. He didn't look at her. "Kenji told you?" "Yes, about Emily, about how she just vanished." His jaw tightened. "It's not that simple." "Then make it simple." He finally turned to her, his blue eyes raw and unguarded. "I loved her, Anderson, more than I've ever loved anyone. But my father gave her a choice. Leave me, or watch her family lose everything. She chose to leave. She didn't even say goodbye." His voice cracked on the last word. "I looked for her. I still do. But she's gone." The silence between them was heavy, only the sound of the waves filling it. "That's why you push people away, because if you don't let them close, they can't be taken from you." He gave a short, humorless laugh. "And yet here you are, close enough to get hurt." Before Lily could respond, footsteps approached. It was Alexei and Arjun. "This ends now," Alexei said coldly. "We can't go through another Emily." "You think you can control me?" Ethan snapped, standing. "You think you're selfish," Alexei shot back. "You're willing to drag her into the same hell you dragged Emily into, just because you're lonely." Arjun stepped between them, his usual easygoing tone gone. "Stop, all of you. This isn't about the F4 anymore. It's about what's left of it." For the first time, Lily saw them not as the perfect 4 flowers everyone admired, but as 4 broken boys,
each carrying secrets heavier than their wealth. She looked at Ethan. "I can't be Emily, Ethan. I can't be someone you lose." His voice was almost a whisper. "And I can't watch you walk away." She swallowed hard. "Then you have to choose. Keep me in your world and protect me, or let me go now before it destroys us both." The silence stretched. His eyes searched hers, and for a moment she thought he would choose to fight for her, but then his gaze dropped, and she knew. "I can't promise you safety, not with my father, not with the life I live." Her throat ached, but she forced herself to nod. "Then this is goodbye." She turned and walked away, each step heavier than the last. She didn't look back, not when Arjun called her name, not when she heard Alexei mutter something in Russian, not even when she thought she heard Ethan stand and take a step toward her. When she reached the street, she realized her hands were clenched around something. She opened her palm. The red flower. Its petals were soft, perfect, but they would wilt in days. Just like the world of the four flowers. Beautiful, untouchable, and destined not to last.